Karen defaced Grandpa's bench with graffiti. Didn't know my aunt runs the DOJ. What does it take to erase a memory carved in wood and heart? In the small town of Willow Creek, where whispers carried faster than the wind, a single act of defiance sparked a chain of events that would unravel secrets, shatter bonds, and leave scars no one saw coming. This is the story of Karen, a girl with a spray can and a grudge, who thought she could paint over the past only to find the past had a way of painting her back. Karen was 16, all sharp edges and restless energy, the kind of girl who wore her anger like a badge. Her family had moved to Willow Creek after her parents' messy divorce, and she hated everything about its quiet streets, the nosy neighbors, the way everyone seemed to know her grandfather, Old Man Henry, a local legend who'd built half the town's benches, including the one in the park that bore his name. To Karen, that bench was a symbol of everything she despised. Her family's expectations, their suffocating pride, and the weight of a legacy she wanted no part of. So, one moonless night, armed with a can of red spray paint, she crept to the park and defaced it. She scrawled jagged words across the worn wood: freedom, rebel, futter rebellion, a loud, ugly scream against the world. The next morning, the town erupted. The bench wasn't just wood. It was a monument to Henry's kindness, his years of volunteering, his quiet wisdom shared with anyone who sat beside him. To Karen, it was just a thing, but to Willow Creek, it was a piece of their soul. The townsfolk gathered, murmuring in disbelief, their eyes darting to Karen's family, who stood pale and silent. Karen's mother, Lisa, clutched her coffee mug, her voice trembling as she apologized to the crowd. Her brother, Jake, Karen's uncle, shook his head, muttering about kids these days. But Karen, she stood at the edge of the park, hood up, smirking at the chaos she'd caused. She thought she'd won. Enter Mia, a girl nobody noticed until that day. Mia was a quiet sophomore, all braids and oversized sweaters, who spent her lunches sketching in a notebook by Henry's bench. She wasn't popular, wasn't loud, but she had a fire in her eyes that Karen had overlooked. Mia had seen Karen that night, her silhouette darting through the shadows, the hiss of the spray can echoing in the dark. Mia didn't tell anyone, not yet. Instead, she watched, her pencil scratching faster in her notebook, capturing every detail of Karen's defiance. Mia wasn't just a bystander. She was a witness, and her silence was a ticking bomb. The town demanded justice. The police chief, a gruff man named Officer Daniels, promised to find the culprit. Karen's family, humiliated, offered to pay for the bench's restoration, but the damage ran deeper than paint. Whispers turned to accusations, and Karen's name surfaced in hushed tones. She didn't care, so she told herself. She leaned into her rebellion, tagging her locker at school with the same red paint, daring the world to come for her. But the world wasn't what she expected. The twist came in the form of Aunt Clara, Lisa's older sister, who rolled into town like a storm cloud in a tailored suit. Clara was a mystery to Karina, distant figure, who sent Christmas cards from DC but rarely visited. Karen knew her as the fancy lawyer aunt, but she didn't know the half of it. Clara wasn't just a lawyer, she was a high-ranking official at the Department of Justice, a woman who'd built her career on rooting out corruption and upholding accountability. When Clara heard about the bench, she didn't just call to check in, she showed up, her presence commanding and cold. Karen, oblivious, shrugged her off, thinking Clara was just another adult to ignore. Clara didn't confront Karen directly. Instead, she worked in the shadows, meeting with Officer Daniels, combing through security footage from a nearby gas station, and piecing together the truth. She was methodical, relentless, and terrifyingly good at her job. When Mia, emboldened by Clara's arrival, slipped her sketches to the police drawings that captured Karen's hoodie, her spray can, even the angle of her wrist as she painted Clara had all she needed. The evidence was undeniable, and the case was personal. Karen's world began to crumble at a town meeting, where Clara stood before the crowd, her voice steady but laced with disappointment. She revealed the evidence, not with anger, but with a quiet sorrow that cut deeper than any shout. Karen, dragged there by her mother, felt her smirk fade as Clara's eyes locked onto hers. "This isn't just about a bench," Clara said, her words slicing through the room. "It's about respect, for family, for community, for the people who came before us." The crowd gasped when Clara named Karen, not as a stranger, but as her niece. The betrayal stung worse than the crime. Karen tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The town's judgment was suffocating, but Clara's was worse. She didn't yell or lecture. She simply looked at Karen, her gaze heavy with the weight of family history. "Your grandfather built that bench with his hands," Clara said later in private, her voice breaking for the first time. "He sat there with me when I was your age, lost and angry, and he told me I could be more. You defaced more than would, Karen. You defaced him." The twist deepened when Mia, the quiet witness, stepped forward again. She wasn't just a bystander. She was Henry's secret protege. In his final years, Henry had taught Mia to carve, to create, to pour love into wood the way he did. The bench was her inspiration, her promise to him to carry on his work. When Karen defaced it, she hadn't just hurt the town, she'd crushed Mia's dream. Mia's sketches weren't just evidence. They were her grief, her way of holding onto Henry. Her quiet courage shifted the story, turning Karen from a rebel into a villain in her own narrative. The consequences came swiftly. Clara, bound by her sense of justice, ensured Karen faced charges not harsh, but enough to sting. Community service, restitution, and a public apology. Karen stood before the town, her voice shaking, her defiance crumbling as she muttered words she didn't believe. The crowd didn't boo. They just watched, their silence heavier than any jeer. Lisa cried, Jake turned away, and Clara left town the next day. Her duty done, but her heart heavier. Mia, though, stayed. She volunteered to restore the bench, sanding away Karen's paint, carving new patterns to honor Henry. Her hands worked where Karen's had destroyed, a quiet act of healing that spoke louder than any punishment. Karen's rebellion didn't end in triumph. It ended in isolation. Her friends drifted, her family distanced, and the town never forgot. She'd wanted to be free, to break the chains of expectation, but all she'd done was build new ones, chains of guilt, shame, and regret. The bench stood again, polished and proud, but Karen couldn't look at it. Every stroke of Mia's carving was a reminder of what she'd lost. Not just her grandfather's legacy, but her place in it. The final blow came months later, when Karen found a letter tucked into her locker. It was from Clara, written in her precise, elegant hand. "You're not the first to mess up," it read, "but you get to decide what comes next. Don't let this define you." Karen wanted to crumple it, to burn it, but she didn't. She kept it, folded in her pocket, a bitter reminder that even in her darkest moment, someone still believed she could change. But change felt impossible when every glance in the mirror showed a girl who'd lost more than she'd gained. Willow Creek moved on, but Karen didn't. The bench became a shrine to Henry's memory, a place where Mia's carvings told stories of love and resilience. Karen passed it every day, her steps slow, her eyes averted. She'd wanted to scream her name to the world, but all she'd done was whisper her shame. The town forgave in time, but Karen couldn't. The paint was gone, but the stain remained in her heart, in her family, in the eyes of a girl who'd once thought she could outrun her past. ND.